Hey guys, JB here from Alpha Wolf Consulting. All right, coming to you today just with a little bit of understanding. And it comes from understanding, well, why, for me personally, was understanding, well, why was I subconsciously being pulled to compare myself to other people rather than, only focusing on me? So even now I get pulled to that, and everyone does. Anyone that says they don't compare themselves to other people either has 100% control of their mind and their life, or they're lying. All right, because the problem is we compare in everything, and it's because it's so conditioned into us. And you got to think it's been conditioned into us since we were kids. So you gotta remember, as small children, okay, how were we conditioned? Well, oh, Jimmy isn't acting bad. Why do you act bad? Why aren't you as well behaved as Jimmy? Blah blah blah. You know what I mean? And then we got team sporting, and then we got this and that. So we got to understand that in everything that we did, we were always being compared to others. Now, not directly, but indirectly. Because, for example, in team sports, our team wins, their team wins. One team is better than the other. So we're being compared. So whenever we have any competitiveness or competitive environments, what that does is that really conditions in comparison to others, because we're trying to beat others. So when we're trying to actively beat other people, okay, we're comparing what can they do, what can I do, how can I bridge the gap? You know what I mean? And it takes a lot of training and a lot of understanding to be able to pull back from that, because a lot of this conditioning happens when we're young children to when we're young adolescents. And when this is happening, we don't have conscious control over our mind, because generally the majority of people don't consciously learn how to control their mind until they're mid to late 20s to 30s to 40s to 50s, right? And what happens is, because we're not consciously trying to control our mind in the aspect of consciously creating the narratives, consciously creating and shaping our belief structures, right? So what we believe as being real is what we're told by society, or what we're told by the news, or this, that, and the other. If you take, for example, take law. Law is not based on ethics or morality. Law is based on legality, right? So the thing about law is the law creates beliefs that this is right, that is wrong, even though it's not based out of right and wrong. It's based out of what can you prove and what you can disprove. Because, for example, civil law is all about what a reasonable person would assume, and then criminal law is beyond reasonable doubt. So to be able to put any doubt in that case, and to be able to doubt evidence and whatnot, equals, ways for people to get off of it. So, for example, if our law was based on morality and ethics, someone that stole, if they stole to support their family or something like that, or they stole to feed their children, majority of people would see that as being morally right, because letting someone suffer and die because they don't have is not morally right, even though legally it's right. So being able to understand, these differences, but we shape so much of our understanding of reality and what is right and what is real, and all of this jazz, based off of laws, based off legislation, based off science and whatnot. Just because someone says that the sky is blue, does that mean that the sky is blue? I'll put this to you. What is blue? Blue is just an ideal of a colour that we all agree is blue. What if someone grew up thinking blue was green? Is there, who's right and who's wrong. Now, we would say that we're right because we believe in a societal belief, but it doesn't mean that either is right or wrong because neither is real. Like the color is just an objectifiable, piece of information to say that the sky is the color blue, even though none of us actually know what blue is, because blue is just a made up word. Just like all our words are made up words. There is no overarching real in reality, because reality is subjective because it's all created in each of our minds. So for example, you look at the sky, I look at the sky, do we see the same color blue? If I have color blindness, if I look at the sky and I see grey and you tell me it's blue and I say no, it's grey, who's right and who's wrong? No one. Because right and wrong doesn't exist. So that's the thing we got to understand, is that when we're constructing, our understanding of reality and our understanding of, belief, the language that we use, the emotions that we feel, and all of this, it's got to come from within us. So just because the law says something's acceptable and something isn't, like we inherently know what is right to me and what is wrong to me. Okay? Like we all have that ethics, because ethics and morality aren't based in religion, they're not based in law, they're not based in society. Because if they were, for example, politicians would all be taken out and hung because they manipulate, lie, they're corrupt. I could go on for many different things. And we can argue that that's not true, but it is true. Because, for example, like there is no scale to corruption. If I mislead or lie, and then I mislead, lie, and take $1 million as a bribe, there's no difference in morality. They're both immoral actions. So we got to understand that our society is not built on morality. Our society is not built on ethics. It's built upon these constructs of what is acceptable to the majority. And unfortunately, these days, it's not what is acceptable to the majority, but it's acceptable to what is the minority in power. So what we got to understand is that we don't want to be basing our internal beliefs, and this is why self-validation is so important, is because we want to validate who we are and how we want to live life by us, not by any external factors. Because these external factors, unfortunately, these days are not based upon ethics, are not based upon morality. For example, religions do amazing things and do amazingly terrible things. Just like militaries do amazing things, do amazingly terrible things. Just like police, amazing things, amazingly terrible things. And you can go through the list of everything, because everything has those two sides, the extreme good and the extreme bad. And in between sits the majority, around that reasonable person sort of level. So what we got to understand is that if we truly want to live how we want to live, and we want to, build and construct that version of ourselves that is who we want to be, our authentic self, and we want to find our authentic environments, then we have to validate internally, and we have to create everything internally, and we have to not externally validate ourselves or basically go off external beliefs. Just because people say blue is blue doesn't mean blue is blue. It's if I agree that blue is blue, to me blue is blue, if that makes sense. All right, have a great day. Thanks so much.